This is the funnest night ever!
Yeah, quit yanking our anuses!
Two people get together, do something social, have a few drinks, yada yada yada.
It's called Two Brothers. Two Brothers. It's just called Two Brothers.
Welcome to another episode of Two Brothers. I am Alberto.
My name is Edgar.
And today's episode, or I guess tonight, because we're recording it at night, we're going to be talking about comic books, but not just about comic books, but mental health representation
In comic books.
Also, how we've used comic books as a way to cope with anxiety as well.
And depression.
Depression and shit like that. Mm-hmm. So, we're doing this off the cuff. We don't really have much of a starting point. So I guess a good place to start is talking about how it's helped us first before we jump into how it's represented in comic books.
Okay.
So
I want you to start because you're the one who kind of catched what I'm trying to say here, you notice the references in comic books, like how our superheroes deal with their own mental health or their fears and all that stuff. So I want you to start with this, and then I'll jump in whenever I feel it's right for me to. So
yeah, well, I mean, I guess what I will start out by saying is comic books for the past, I'd say like four or 5 years, I think, maybe more than that, has been a huge part of my life now. I think you agree too. Mm-hmm. We go out every Wednesday and we buy comic books, and we go comic book hunting, and it's like one of our favorite pastimes. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things to do, and the reason for that is not just because of the stories that are told in the comic books, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's an escape, and I know that's the same thing that can be said about like video games and movies and music, but there's something different about comic books that kind of is different from like video games and music and shit like that. And I think it has to be with the characters that whichever one you end up choosing, whoever your favorite character is, comic book character, they're all kind of, if you look deeper into it, they're kind of like a form. They're dealing with the form of mental health.
Yeah.
Like Batman. There's no way that he's not dealing with trauma and like depression, and if you're someone who's dealing with that, you can read Batman and kind of know that you aren't alone in that. Batman also deals with that, and I can't really reference which comic books he talks about that in, but
that's a good point. I was gonna bring it up later on. I guess the one that stuck out to me with the Batman story is the White Knight. I don't know the second one. I don't know. Do you know what the second one's called?
You keep talking about it. I'll look at it.
I think it's the second one or the first one. They both came out like months apart, but it's so hard to tell which one it is. But I think it is.
It is called Curse of the White Knight.
Yeah, I think it's that one.
The second one. Yeah.
And it's not by. I'm gonna go by what he said. Basically, he said he was talking to Harley Quinn in the Batcave, and I guess like Harley Quinn told him like, why can't you just stop and be Bruce Wayne? Stop being Batman. And Bruce Wayne told her like, I try, even though I take off the the mask, the cowl, I'm not Batman anymore, and when I'm with people, people that I work with or I socialize with,
yeah,
I still have that mentality of being Batman. So when I see someone, I got into basically, like he says, on like Batman mode. Like, is he a criminal? Is he someone
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to look
It's like
after.
paranoid and shit.
Yeah, like that. So I can't. It's like it's something I can't take out. I can't turn off. I mean,
Right.
and that kind of stuck out. It's kind of like depression or anxiety. Like once it's not, once you turn that off and hang out with your friends and family, you still have that little fucking voice of depression, anxiety telling you like they hate you or they don't like you or shit like that, or you should have stayed home. It's kind of like that. That kind of stuck out to me. Like even Batman can't even like take out that mental
Aspect.
the aspect of being Batman. He's always in that mode of I gotta always stop crime. There's always something that's about to happen. So yeah.
Yeah, and like that also translates to other most characters. I think all are kind of predicated on a certain like mental illness or have a certain thing that kind of sets them back. Like Doctor Strange, he has the whole hands thing, and like particularly in the movie is what I'm talking about. Like he goes through like depression and it kind of like he pushes people away in his life because of this terrible thing that's happened to him, and he has to find a way to kind of overcome that adversity, and he finds a new purpose in his life by becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. And I feel like I connected to that because I think I can speak for a lot of people who deal with anxiety. They go through certain adversities in their lives that almost seems like a setback, and it kind of they find new purpose. They become stronger because of it, and that's why I really love Doctor Strange as a superhero. Because he's someone who has had this fucking thing happen to him, and he overcame that and found new purpose and became the Sorcerer Supreme. And it's like you look at that and you think like whatever it is I'm going through or other people are going through, they can overcome that too, and they can become like a stronger person for that. That's just one example.
Yeah. What was that quote in that movie that you kind of referenced, like that kind of mentions moving on or mental health? Something about the river. Remember, like you were just. It's okay if you can just make it up in your head, but it's in the movie.
I think it's a scene when like Doctor Strange is like like practicing to become a sorcerer and shit like that, and the ancient one is I forgot what he tells him. He tells him something like you can't like stop a river from flowing or some shit like that. You kind of just have to let it go around you or some shit like that. And it's like that to me when I saw that, because I think it was the second time that I saw the film or like the third time that it kind of hit me, like because I had a lot of like intrusive thoughts, and I know you do too, like with your anxiety, and sometimes the best solution is to kind of just let them come to you and just kind of
let them pass.
Yeah, just kind of sit with it instead of trying to stop it on your own, and it's like that really connected with me. I really like that part of the movie, and there's little different parts like that throughout the film. I think there's another part where she says, I think it says we never get rid of our demons. We only learn to live above them. And it's like, damn, that really it hit me when I needed it too. I forgot when it was that I saw that film, because I think I saw it when we had Disney Plus, and I was like, wow, that fucking resonated with me. And that's just the movies. It's just there's an abundance of that in the comic books too.
But mostly in the movies too, like with Tony Stark, basically, like with the Iron Man films, you can see that Tony Stark was someone that, how do you say, they didn't dealt with that in the beginning. You know, it was once after the Avengers movie, after he went through that
the wormhole.
or the wormhole and all that it traumatized him. It stuck with him. And, constantly fighting, these bad guys and people yelling at him that, it's his parents' fault. Yeah. And, all this, and blaming him because of all this shit that's going on, right? And it's a lot to deal with. And at the same time, he's trying to become a better person and help the world, but it doesn't seem to work out. Mm-hmm. Not until the Iron Man 3, you start to notice that he started dealing with panic attacks and anxiety.
Yeah.
Of the past traumas he had.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the Avengers movie.
Yeah. And
the aftermath of that.
And Ultron and all that. Yeah. And I didn't notice that back when we first saw it,
Yeah, neither did I.
And when I started dealing with my anxiety early last year, it was hard to deal with because, like you said, all these intrusive thoughts. My mind was always racing, and like you were saying, I needed to see that or hear that from Iron Man 3. Sounds ridiculous. Was when that kid kind of triggers that panic attack. Yeah. And what happened to this little town that someone killed himself, right? Blew himself up.
Something like that. It's been a while since I
And he saw the shadows placed on the walls of the people who died.
Oh, right, yeah.
And that kind of triggered his anxiety. And it's kind of funny, comedic way to and it's true. It kind of feels like that. The kid is, did I trigger your anxiety? Like, yeah.
No, yeah. It was a fun little scene there, banter between them.
And one of the things that he does to calm down, and you always telling me this, that you're a therapist, where it says put something or hold something cold or put some cold water in your face or something to put you in the moment, not thinking about those thoughts.
It kind of grounds you.
Grounds you, yeah. And that's what he does, which was pretty cool. And later on, he's in the car. And the kid talks to him again, right? Yeah. He's calling the kid, and I think something's not working out between them. I'm trying to think here. Well, they're just talking, and something's not working. The plan's not working out as they thought they would, and that also triggers his anxiety. And the kid is the one, telling him to calm down. Hey, do your exercise. breathe.
Yeah, it's like an anchor.
Yeah.
For him.
And he does that, and he can see that it's okay. He's like, "Thanks, kid."
Yeah.
And he hangs up on him and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. Seeing that,
Another thing more recently is with WandaVision too, deals with mental health and grief as well.
You mean the show, right?
Okay. Yeah, with the show, with Wanda and how she is dealing with losing vision and
his brother
and her brother and all this past trauma, and that was really interesting to see that too, because I know that the MCU movies have a track record of showing that in films, but I don't know why WandaVision, I think just they nailed it with that too. I feel like we're talking a lot more about the movies, but
if you want to jump to the comics, that's fine.
Yeah, because there's a few, I can't really name them off the top. That's what I was trying to look for right now, but there are certain comic books that talk about what was it? I think it was a Batman comic book. I don't know if it was with Robin or something like that, but it was this very heartfelt moment between him and someone who was going to attempt suicide. And I don't know if it was one of the Robins who decided to just sit there on the ledge with him and just talk to him. And it was that was the entire comic book.
Really?
I can't recall what it was. One of your friend Hi-Man posted it on Facebook. It was like a year ago, but
and that was from a comic book?
it was from a comic book. I think it was meant to talk about suicide prevention and shit like that.
Oh, okay.
But it's cool because comic books has always been a platform for people to for writers to speak about those issues because they themselves has also gone through that shit as well. Donnie Cates is one person that comes to mind who has gone through like near-death experiences
and his anxieties and all that,
and has put it in his comic books, and that really like stuck out to me. You know, that's that the writers themselves always like they also go through that. Stan Lee is also he's a huge part of that. You know, he created X-Men because he well, I don't think this is true, but I feel like he created that because he created this group of people that like are outcasted from,
they don't fit in
don't
society.
fit in with society. And you kind of almost see that, and you see yourself in that too.
Yeah, you relate to the X-Men,
Yeah.
you know. Going back to Donnie Cates, you're right. Like, yeah, he openly talks about that. You know, even with his run that's about to end with Venom. You know, he says he relates a lot to Venom. You know, and Eddie Brock. You know, and his other work too, like God Country and Buzzkill. You know. Like for example, God Country is him accepting, how do you say, grief and death, basically. You know, because all his past experiences with that. Buzzkill was because of his time on drugs and all that, and how he hated that, and he put that in the comic book too. You know, so it's cool to see how, like you were saying, you know, writers do that. Another good example that you know, I want to say you can jump in. Paul Dini, remember that book he wrote where he
oh, that's right, yeah.
when he got that, not death, he got beat up, right? How do you want to explain that?
He went through this traumatic experience where I think he was like mugged, I think, or
he got mugged,
and it was a very painful experience because I think he got he beat down and stuff like that.
He broke his like one of his cheekbones and stuff like that.
Yeah, it was a very traumatic experience for him, and wow, I forgot. It's been a while since I read that. I should have.
So I'm looking for all that.
But yeah, and then like the whole book is just him recounting that experience, but also he includes Batman in there too, and all these different characters from the Batman. Lore.
It's called The Dark Knight, a true Batman story.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing, what he uses is when after he got beaten up and all that. He talks to the cop, and the cop tells him what do you do for a living? He says, I do cartoons, you know, like Batman and stuff like that. And the cop kind of chuckled, like, you wish that, you know, Batman came and saved your butt, you know.
Yeah.
And him going home, and he would recount what happened to him, but this time if Batman showed up, type of thing. So what he does in that comic book is like he uses the characters he worked on in the Batman Adventures, TV show, animated series. He uses that as kind of dealing with his, I want to say, like those voices that you hear in your head, like kind of like with anxiety and depression, like. Like there's moments where Two-Face comes in and talks to him, Riddler, Poison Ivy. Like when he talks to women, or he's trying to when he talks to women or the people he worked with, especially, you know, close people. Like I think the lady who did the voice for Harley Quinn and stuff like that. Yeah, that's when
Tara Strong.
Yeah, no, No, the original one for the
okay.
show. I forgot her name, but yeah, it's like you said, Poison Ivy shows up, and like when he gets angry, yeah, like it's certain people and villains that pop up in certain times that talk to, like he uses that as he talking to himself in his head, and that's how we kind of feel like too, like those little voices we use, like
Yeah, as weird as it sounds.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we use like. I know I do sometimes too. When I deal with a lot of anxiety, when it gets really like bad, really strong. You know, I think about like what Batman would tell me in that situation, or what Daredevil would do in that situation. I try to think of those like scenarios and shit like that, and it kind of helps like ground me a bit.
even though it sounds cheesy, thinking about what would, like you said, what would Batman do, or what would Spider-Man do, how we would deal with this situation, or how we would deal with his mental health, which is weird, but that's true. If you look deep into it, that's what they're talking about most of the time, is mental health and how to deal with that, and all of that, which is cool, which I like, which brings comfort to me. Like I would always tell you, that I read that Paul Dini one last year when I had crippling anxiety, man. Like I couldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I looked into my comic books and my graphic novels. I read that Paul Dini one, Dark Knight, True Batman story. Oh my God, like that's how I feel like right now. You can relate.
Sorry, I'm looking up a.
No worries, okay. And God Country too, It's just all these stories you look into and read again, and to take a double look at them, it just makes you feel good. Like, I'm not the only one. These writers you look up to too, like they relate to that. They put that into their work with their characters, So yeah, even though if you guys do that to yourselves, like you look up to Superman or Spider-Man, Peter Parker, anyone and you use that to help with your mental health.
I was just gonna add that there was an issue. I can't believe I forgot about this, but there's a Deadpool issue too. Issue 20 came out in 2016 or 2017. Also, kind of the similar concept of the one I was talking about with Robin, where it's just him talking down a girl from committing suicide, and I can't believe I forgot about that issue. But that, even Deadpool, there's a comic book of that too that talks about it. Even he himself. He has fucking like multiple like personalities and shit like that.
Yeah,
and yeah, so for people who just look at comic books as just like this kind of like kiddie thing that people can just for kids to read and shit, like it's I think it's more than I think it's like literature. It can become literature if it's done right. The best stories encompass a lot of those issues too, and it's good to see that it makes me feel, I don't know, it's like a warm feeling to just read those issues too. Those are some of my favorite ones.
Let me see this real quick. Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you talking about it when they came out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's cool. Like how people put that into comic books. I know this is not how do you say, mental health related or anything, but there's another one that you always bring up, and I want to look into our long box and I want to see which one it is so I can read it. It's that Spider-Man one where he said nothing, like this little story, like he doesn't fight anyone or anything. He just helps out this little kid, right? Like,
yeah. So I think it's Peter Parker. What's it called? I think Peter Parker Spider-Man or something like that. The Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wasn't expecting this issue to just be kind of like a one-off thing, but it was about, if I recall, correctly, because I kind of want to read that one too. It kind of made me cry when I read it. But it was about this kid who had, I think it was his mom who got killed in like a mugging or something like that, and Spider-Man kind of came in and kind of like saved the kid, but not in time to like save her mom. And he feels really like bad. He feels terrible for what happened to the kid. And so what he ends up doing is like he checks up on him like for like a good few months. I don't know. It doesn't really explain how long, but anyways, he checks up on him and like comes in through, because he lives in an apartment. He comes through in like in his window in his bedroom and just helps him with his homework and shit like that's the whole. That's the whole comic book. Is just this Spider-Man just connecting with this little kid and feeling really angry because he can't bring back her mom. And I think at one point he goes after the person who
killed
had committed this crime and shit, but kind of held himself back from doing something terrible. And I don't know, that whole comic book just was really touching to me. And there was another one too. I'm not sure if it was also Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man, but it was just him feeling really anxious because his aunt was, I think, diagnosed with cancer, Aunt May, and the whole comic book was just him dealing with that diagnosis and how he was feeling off for that entire comic book. And it was just him trying to come to terms with that diagnosis too. And I think he was like, in the beginning of the comic book, he was like afraid to accompany Aunt May to like her appointments and shit like that. And then by the end, he like kind of like mans up and goes with her and shit like that. Like it was really like touching to see that, like Spider-Man dealing with that, like Peter Parker, on top of all the shit that he's dealing with, he also has to deal with that too. And oh man, it just that.
I gotta look, but we have a whole bunch of long boxes there. I don't know where the fuck
it
is.
Bunch.
So yeah, another one that sticks out to me is John Constantine, Hellblazer.
Oh, that's right.
What is it called? Dangerous Habits, right? The Garth
Yes.
Ennis run. When he gets diagnosed with the lung cancer. To me, that sticks out to, that you can relate to, because, John Constantine is this fucking badass that doesn't care. He has no worries in the world, He's a trickster.
He's always like laughing at the face of death.
The death and the devil,
Yeah.
And that one thing that scares him is his cancer, his lung cancer. And you can see that in the panels, the way he talks, the expressions. Like that's the thing that scares him, because he starts puking blood, and he starts worrying.
Yeah, he starts to face, for the first time, his own mortality.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't see with a lot of superheroes, because it's with comic books like Batman and like fucking Superman, like I think there was like the death of Superman, and then he comes back and shit like that. Like it's never permanent with superheroes.
Yeah.
But in this particular comic book with Hellblazer, it almost feels like it was, and he's facing that. Coming to terms with that.
Like there, in that one issue inside of the graphic novel, I think he goes sees a cancer patient too, right? Who has lung cancer.
Yeah.
And they just talk about it. And I know it sounds stupid, and it's cool how they both just take a cigarette and just talk about how they feel and stuff like that, And like to me, after he sees that person, kind of gives him peace of what's going on, type of thing. But at the same time, he's kind of, like you said, he's kind of scared of what's going to happen to him. So
another comic book that it's kind of out of left field, but Red Mother. I wouldn't say. Well, I guess it does deal with some some topics of like mental health and all that. But the main character, for those who don't know, I think she like loses an eye during this like encounter with I forgot what it was. It must have been like another mugging or some shit. But she loses her boyfriend at the time. He goes missing and they can't find him, and they kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like presume him dead and stuff like that. She kind of moves on with her life and starts to go to therapy and like goes through all these like different doctors and gets like this glass eye and like this like fake eye and shit like that, and it starts to like give her these like visions and shit like that, and things start to like turn red, and it's pretty like scary and shit like that. And you see that like she gets like very panicky, she gets very like anxious and nervous and paranoid and stuff like that. And I feel like I kind of relate to that too, because when I told you I have the TMJ issue that I had, when it would happen and it triggered like the popping sound or the clicking sound, it would like immediately my whole body would just go cold and I feel fucking panicky, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And to see that kind of translated into a comic book almost felt like it was going to trigger me too, but it's like I pressed on and kept reading it, and it's like it's I don't know, it's a fun read too. I mean, it's mysterious and suspenseful.
It's weird because it's more of a horror comic, so
but
yeah. So there's a lot we can go on with these comic books and films.
I kind of wish we could talk more about it. We might.
No, I was gonna say I want to come back to it.
Me too. Yeah.
And do more research.
We get more research, we can pull out those comic books.
I just wanted to talk about it because I had this topic in my head in the last couple of days. I just want to talk about it to people listen to this. It'd be cool if someone listened to it and post a comment like, "Hey, this help me with my anxiety or depression."
Or hopefully it. If anyone out there is dealing with anxiety, comic books is a huge a therapeutic way to manage and cope with anxiety, I think. Of course, everybody has their coping skills and ways to manage their anxiety, whether it's music and stuff like that. But for us, I think, and more importantly, I think it's comic books and the characters in these comic books too, that really help us with our anxiety and our depression. And hopefully for someone out there who is dealing with anxiety or depression, obviously, get help. You're not alone, and you will get through this, and whatever it takes, if you need to go and get medication, and don't think of it as a crutch and stuff like that, but read comic books as a way to manage your anxiety and your depression, because it's a huge world that Stan Lee created with these characters.
And even in DC,
with DC as
Image, anywhere that if you fall into, you can find something in there that you can relate.
I think that's the beautiful thing about comic books too.
Yeah.
And we're surrounded by it every day, 24/7. These like Funko Pops, these figures, and all this shit. Like, it was created by someone who, probably went through some shit too.
With Stan Lee, just to bring it up, I know I'm going to butcher what he said, and it's just to say, like, if you don't fit in, and with all this shit that's going on in the world and all that crap, it keeps popping up on my feed on TikTok. He said he created Silver Surfer, someone who comes he's from another planet, another world, and he comes to our world and he doesn't fit in. People judge him though because of the way he looks. He's an alien basically, and he created that because how the racism in this world that's going on. and he just says, I would like to bring peace in this world, just even in my work.
Yeah.
So like, yes, anything can translate into that. So
there's so many. If we were to recommend, at least if I were to recommend,
I was gonna do that too. I'm doing recommendations.
The big one that comes to mind is the one from Paul Dini.
Yeah, that was gonna be mine too.
Yeah,
if you guys,
very compelling
story,
very powerful, story, and powerful message too.
Again, I think it's called a Dark Knight, a true Batman story.
Mm-hmm. For those who want to
pick it up
and read it. And
another one, it's mostly Donny Cates. It's God Country and Buzzkill. So that's my recommendations there.
Yeah, and those are trades that people can pick up. And, or like, if you want to go comic book hunting, you can find those single issues too.
Or which ones do you recommend?
I recommend the Immortal Hulk as well. Yeah, I don't think we even touched it. Yeah, that's a really intense book too. And so if you want to read more about that, I think it delves deeper into issues of bipolar and also with depression and like trauma and grief and shit like that, and it's just abuse as well. Those kinds of things. If you're interested in kind of reading about that and like these things do exist in comic books and they don't just exist outside of it, and it's good that these conversations, these topics do exist in comic books, because I think it's needed. Marvel is especially now is such a huge brand now at this point, and there's movies and there's TV shows and books and video games, and if anyone should be able to talk about these issues, it's them, because they're huge.
Yeah, it can gravitate to their audience.
Yeah, it can reach to even the most casual people.
Yeah.
So that's why I love comic books, and that's why we use it as a way to cope with our anxiety or when depression hits and shit like that. But yeah, I mean, to kind of wrap it up,
I kind of felt like we were all over the place on this episode, but it's something that to me and to you, we wanted to talk about. And again, like we said earlier, we're going to probably come back to this topic.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Be prepared.
Yeah.
But I just felt like we wanted to put that out there in our podcast for people to reach out. So.
And hopefully we can come back with more, research, and maybe we'll read some comic books beforehand and talk about them and shit like that.
We just had things on top of our heads, see stuff like that, for this topic. So,
that'll do it. And
what we're gonna have for next time.
We don't know. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about for next, because we come up with these like an hour before we do the podcast.
Or days. It depends on what we feel or stuff like that,
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for you guys, for listening and.
Another. I think I mentioned it before. It's not the best quality when it comes to a podcast. We're all over the place, but we really enjoy doing this. It feels like for the first time, because I know we've done this in the past. For the first time, it feels like we're really enjoying talking about video games and comic books without feeling like we were out of control, or in control and shit like that. So, that'll about do it for this episode.
Thanks for sticking around, guys.
And I do want to plug my friend's YouTube channel, who his name is Maurice. He has his YouTube channel where he's mostly doing right now, at least with gaming and shit like that. It's action or gaming. So if you guys want to watch some playthroughs, you want to find a new Let's Player,
there you go.
Go on to his YouTube channel. I've been enjoying it.
Me too.
Yeah, I put that on for background noise sometimes, and
it's fun. Yeah,
it kind of makes me want to go back and play Modern Warfare.
It's kind of weird because he's our friend, and we're seeing him doing his own thing, right? It's so weird.
At least for me, he's killing it.
Yeah,
he's doing a great job. So shout out to Maurice, and for those listening,
shout out to his family.
Shout out to subscribe to his YouTube channel. And
subscribe to our channel too.
Subscribe to our channel too.
If you like our...
we don't know when we're recording this. We still haven't fucking dropped an episode, so we don't know if we're gonna rename the channel yet. We're thinking about it. But subscribe to our YouTube channel, whatever it's going to be called. And, like this wherever it's going to drop. It's probably just going to be on YouTube because I'm too lazy to figure out how to put it on Spotify yet. So. But, that'll do it. Until next time, I'm Alberto.
Edgar.
And this has been
Two Brothers.